Travel nursing looks really good online. The pay, the travel, the freedom. But in 2025, things do look a little different than what we were seeing, when COVID was around. So if you are thinking about traveling, if you're thinking about becoming a nurse to potentially travel in the near future, this video could literally help you make that decision to determine if it is right for you. So before we start, y'all, make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe, and comment on this video so people can see it, people can understand what they're getting themselves into. Hey guys, and welcome back. For those of you who are new here, my name is Amber. I am 28 years old and I am a travel nurse, and I'm also in school to get my master's in nurse practitioner. Today's video is pretty much just talking about travel nursing, the pros, the cons, the goods, the bads, the uglies, whatever you guys want to call it. I just want to give you guys more insight on it. That way you guys are able to determine, is this something that I want to do? But I will tell you, everybody's experience is different. Everybody handles things different. So I just tell people, get your own experience and take what I say as a grain of salt. All of this is based off of my experience, but I do think that I am a very optimistic person, and it just is one of those things that, like, it is what it is. Like, that's how I look at everything. It is what it is. So this is my opinion. Don't judge me for it. I've had a good experience, so let's go ahead and get started on it. So let's kind of talk about the why, like why travel nursing, kind of became popular. And in my opinion, I think it became popular because nurses were burnt out. High ratios, poor management, poor flexibility, low pay is what made nurses even look into traveling. And then when COVID came out and those COVID contracts started popping out, when you were making 8 to 10K a week, I believe traveling got even more popular then. Because you mean to tell me that I just have to travel to another facility and I'm going to do the same things that I'm doing at my home facility, and I'm bringing in 10K a week, so 40K a month? Like, that's 100% more than what I was making even at bedside. So I believe that's kind of how traveling did get started. It was kind of an escape for people that were at bedside. And it used to be an escape, but it's not the same anymore. It's not how it used to be in 2025. So, let's dive into it and let's talk about the good and the bad, the ugly, the pretty, all of it. So what has changed, you ask? The biggest thing is the pay. During COVID, we all know that nurses were making insane money. And unfortunately, that era is over. Lord knows I wish I was a nurse during COVID, but it didn't happen that way. So in 2025, rates are lower in many areas. Contracts are way more competitive to get. Hospitals are cutting travelers. I did lose a contract prior to me starting. And then housing is way more expensive. When you're a traveler, you get to decide whether you want to split housing or if you want your own place. Clearly, if you want your own place, you are going to pay more versus if you get a house and you have roommates and you guys just pay by the room, it will be a little cheaper. I personally go both routes. It just depends on the house, the area, and where I'm at. I prefer to have my own space so I can do my own thing, but if it doesn't work out that way, I am fine with sharing as long as I get my own room, my own bathroom, and we can share the common areas. So those are kind of some of the things that have changed since 2020 with travel nursing. So with those things that I talked about, with the rates being lower, contracts being more competitive, the hospitals cutting travelers, and then the housing that is more expensive, you have to sit down and you have to play with your numbers. When you look at contracts, you'll see that they can be advertised higher than what is like what's going to be given. So normally you'll see between 2,000 and 2,200 is what it'll say on a contract, right? The only way you'll truly get that higher number is if you opt out of insurance. If you don't opt out of insurance, you're probably going to get that lower number. Most travel contracts right now are running between minimal $2,000 to the max that I've seen and that I've worked is $2,600 a week. And when you do that, like I said, you have to waiver out your reimbursements that you have to do. So whether you're going to be getting new scrubs, paying for parking, your housing, where you're staying, but you also have to duplicate expenses, which is super important. And depending on your situation and where you are will determine how you duplicate and how that looks. So that tax-free stipend that you are getting isn't just for you to pocket and go live your life and, you know, do whatever you want. It is IRS money. It does have guidelines that comes with it. So you do have to make sure that you're using it correctly, because if you aren't, the IRS will try to come back and collect all of that money that they've given you, and it's literally just not even worth it. So like stated, yes, travelers can still make more than staff. I'll throw out my numbers because I don't care. But when I became a staff nurse, my very first nursing job, I was making $32 an hour as a base rate. And then I worked night shift, so I got a $5 shift diff, so I was making $37 an hour. Every 2 weeks, I didn't have insurance and I didn't have my 401k set up. So every 2 weeks, I was bringing in about $2,300 a week. Or every 2 weeks, I'm sorry. So that would be, you know, what, about $4,600 a month. When I got my very first travel contract, I was in Ohio still, and I was bringing in $2,100 a week. So I kind of essentially doubled my income just by my very first travel contract. So to me, it was worth it because I was still able to find cheap housing and duplicate my expenses. Because duplicating your expenses isn't necessarily, hey, I pay $2,000 a month for my apartment, I need to go find a place that's $2,000. No. As long as you have a tax-free home, somewhere that you call home, somewhere that you spend a majority of the year, somewhere where you have your mail sent to, and then you're paying for somewhere else. So as long as you get an Airbnb, an apartment, or a hotel, wherever you do your contract, that is considered duplicating expenses. So if you're paying $2,000, but then the place that you find is only $500, $600, $700, $800, that is totally okay. You just have to, you know, do it so the IRS doesn't come after you. Another thing to remember is that you will have gaps in between contracts. Every seldomly you won't, but every contract that I've done that I've left and moved on to the next, I've had at least a 2 week to about a month gap in between my contracts. So you have to realize those are weeks that you're not getting paid. So last year, well, 2025, because you'll see this video in 2026, I had off a total of 9 weeks that I did not get paid, which was okay then because I was able to survive off of what I made. But now that I look back at it, I'm like, dang, if I would have had those 9 weeks worth of pay, like I would have made, you know, essentially more money that I could have been saving up to pay off more things. But it's still balanced out. I still didn't struggle throughout the year. So that is another really good benefit to the travel nursing. And then normally when you sign up for these contracts, you essentially get free healthcare or free benefits because they're going to cover your dental, your health, and your vision insurance. So that's also a plus as well. But the thing is, when your contract ends, so say you're going to stay with that company, but you want, for my company, I should say, I work with a big company. So with my company, say I stay with my company and my contract ends on December 30th. I have to pick up another contract or start another contract by January 31st or my insurance will go away. Granted, the very first day of my next contract, I do get my insurance back. But, you know, I don't like to play those games of not having insurance because you never know what can happen. So that was just a little bit of, you know, just backdoor information is what I like to call it. So now let's talk the pros of traveling. So I like it because I have flexibility. I'm already pretty confident in my job and the work that I do, but it actually built even more confidence. It gave me exposure to different hospital systems, different hospitals, the way people do things by region, whether it's the Midwest, the South, the East, the West Coast. And then it also made me like develop more clinical skills. Like, I'm a med-surg nurse, but depending on what contract I picked up, you know, I see different populations. So for example, right now I'm on a medical oncology floor. So I have to think a little bit different when it comes to my cancer patients. And I'm actually developing a lot more skill when it comes to them as well, because I'm doing things that I never even heard of or things that I never even thought that I would do for just my regular med-surg patients. And I truly enjoy it. So I do think that travel nursing does make you a sharper nurse. It hones on those skills that you're developing. It just makes you more confident. And I truly appreciate that. I also feel like I met some of my best friends, my lifetime friends, while traveling as well, even though I've only been in it for a year and a half. But some of these people that I have met have been like my saving grace in some of these contracts, and I'm forever grateful for them. Literally love these people. And then another thing that it has taught me too is also how to adapt to certain situations quicker. Because like I said, where I come from in Ohio, I've taken contracts in Alabama, North Carolina, a different city in Ohio, and I've been out to California. So every place does everything differently. So it's made me like have to stay on my toes, look up the policies. I double check myself to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. Because at the end of the day, it's about the patients, it's about keeping them safe. So for some people alone, you know, just the flexibility, the confidence that you gain, the exposure to different hospitals and different skills and stronger clinical nursing skills will literally make it worth it alone without even the pay. Because to me, that made it worth it. And then it's like, I feel like with travel nursing, there's a lot of flexibility just because whenever you start a contract, you can give them your days that you need off for 3 months. Like, hey, I need these days off. And once it's written in your contract, you are guaranteed those days off. So you know the days that you'll have off per request prior to even starting. And to me, that's really huge. Now, here's some of the things that people don't talk about as much with traveling, especially when you're single and you don't have kids, and, you know, you're just living your life, which is my situation. But some of the cons are that it can get lonely. You know, getting up and leaving situations and people that you've met for 3 to 6 months can be kind of hard sometimes. You're constantly starting over. So like I said, I was in North Carolina. I was in Alabama for 6 months, and then I was in North Carolina for 6 months, and then I'm back in Ohio for 3 months, and then I have, like, you know, you're just constantly starting over, constantly having to meet new people, constantly having to learn new things. So sometimes that can be it could be challenging, let's be honest. And then sometimes as travelers, I personally haven't ran into like this one really hard, but it happens. You'll get the harder assignments. So that is another thing that's not talked about as much, is sometimes some facilities will give you the harder people just because you are a traveler. The biggest thing is like there's instability, like you're not stable when it comes to like, you know, living situations and stuff like that. Contracts can be canceled at any time. They can be shortened. You can ask for an extension if you want one. They can be changed. Like literally anything can happen to your contract in the middle of it, and you have to be able to adapt. I've had contracts canceled before prior to me going there and in the middle of me, you know, being on a contract. And it's okay. Like, it happens to all of us. Like, you just learn from it, and then you literally just pack your bags and go somewhere else. Like, that's just part of the game. If you get canceled, they no longer need you or they don't want you, you just get up and go. Like, there's so many hospital systems out here in the world. You just gonna figure it out. And then lastly, you just, as a travel nurse, as a nurse period, but as a travel nurse, you truly have to advocate for yourself in every aspect, whether that is your schedule, your time off, your contract that you're getting ready to sign, whether you see something in it you don't agree with. When you get to these hospitals, these facilities, you have to advocate, you know, as a nurse, whether it's for your patients, with the staff members. You know, you just have to prove yourself sometimes. And it shouldn't be like that because we're all nurses, we all have degrees, but sometimes you just really have to always advocate for yourself as a travel nurse. So if you're scared to advocate for yourself, or if you don't like advocating for yourself, or you know, you don't like conflict, travel nursing really may not be for you, because you have to do it. Like, there's literally no way around it. Like, now this is just my opinion, but this is who I feel like travel nursing is really for. Take my opinion with a grain of salt, but I feel like it is for people who have solid clinical skills. They're very confident in their practice. They can adapt very quickly. They don't need a set routine or stability. And, you know, if you have those things, it literally is for you, because that's literally travel nursing. You got to walk in, you get 1 to 3 days of orientation, and you're on your own. You have to have confidence when you talk to these patients, when you talk to the families, when you talk to the providers. You have to learn how to adapt quickly to their policies versus what you've known all your nursing career. You can't be afraid to speak up. We just talked about advocacy. You got to be able to speak up. You got to be able to hold your own. And then there is no routine or stability. I literally go from place to place every 3 to 6 months. I have no routine in life. I feel like sometimes that's a lie. That's just a joke. But like sometimes it can feel overbearing. Like you have no routine, you have no stability because you're just always on the go. And that's not, you know, I wouldn't say that's like how everybody feels, but that's how I feel sometimes because I like to have a routine, but it doesn't bother me that I don't. So now there's a lot of questions and a lot of new grads that get on social media and say, hey, I want to travel when I get my RN license. And to me, that is not the smartest decision that you can make because like I stated, when you become a travel nurse, you get 1 to 3 days of orientation and they throw you out on your own. If you are not confident, which I'm not saying new grads won't, but you just have so many questions about everything. When I was a new grad, I had every question about every last thing and I wanted to make sure I did everything correct. You just don't have, you're not going to get the proper training to go out there and travel. I would say it took me 2 years to get out there and travel. Some people are comfortable after a year. You know, you'll know when you're comfortable and when you're ready. But in my opinion, I feel like you should have at least a year or a year and a half under your belt before you decide, hey, I'm going to go travel as a nurse. Because traveling as a new grad, it doesn't seem smart. It's honestly, most facilities won't even accept you when you are working with these travel companies, these travel agencies. Like most facilities they're very strict sometimes. They'll be like, we want this person to have this much experience, or they don't have experience in this, so we won't take them. So they kind of help, you know, save you and your license at the same time. But some facilities don't care and they'll say, you know, bring them on, which isn't safe because you truly don't know what you don't know because you ain't been through it yet. So in my opinion, if you have less than a year and a half of experience, please do not try to travel. You have a license that you need to protect, and you are the only person that can protect that license. Nobody else cares about it. So to wrap this all up, travel nursing can still be worth it, but if it only fits your life, your goals, and your mental health, I say give it a shot. Like I've stated before, if you want to try it, try it. That's just the bottom line of it. Like, you get in a contract, if you hate it, worst case scenario, you quit and then you just go back to wherever you came from. So if you don't like it, then just leave. But overall, if this video helped you, if it gave you any good pointers, gave you things to think about, make sure you like, share, subscribe, thumbs up it, make comments, you know, engage. Just make me know that you're here, that you're watching. With all that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it was very helpful, and I will see you guys next Saturday or next Sunday whenever I decide to drop the next video. But in the meantime, enjoy your January, and I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.